Guys, groundbreaking day in the NFL. Former Dolphins head coach Brian Flores has filed a class action lawsuit against the NFL, the New York Giants, the Denver Broncos, and the Dolphins are cited in there, claiming racial discrimination in the league's hiring process for coaches and executives. In the suit, it's claimed that Dolphins owner Stephen Ross offered Flores $100,000 for every loss during the 2019 season in an attempt to get the number one draft pick. That was Joe Burrow's class, the year the Bengals drafted him, a year in which the Dolphins selected Tua Tagovailoa later in the draft. It's also included that Flores received recent text messages from Bill Belichick, which indicates that the Giants conducted their interview with Flores after they had already decided to hire Bill's offensive coordinator, Brian Dable, as their next head coach. It's claimed that the NFL is managed much like a plantation. Here's the exact quote. Quote, in certain critical ways, the NFL is racially segregated and is managed much like a plantation. Its 32 owners, none of whom are black, profit substantially from the labor of NFL players, 70% of whom are black. The owners watch the games from atop NFL stadiums in their luxury boxes, while the majority black workforce put their bodies on the line every Sunday, taking vicious hits and suffering debilitating injuries to their bodies and brains, while the NFL and its owners reap billions of dollars. It's mentioned an instance in the past in which Flores was interviewing for the Broncos head coaching position. Broncos management arrived disheveled. They were hungover, clearly an hour late to the meeting, and it was also clear that the interview was simply to satisfy the league's Rooney Rule. Rooney Rule is a rule, as of 2021, requires every team in the NFL to interview at least 2 external minority candidates for open head coaching positions and at least 1 external minority candidate for a coordinator job. This goes on to include senior level positions, but I'm not going to get into that right now. The aim is to increase diversity among leadership positions, coaches, general managers, etc. So there's a lot of information right there. And before getting into it further, I want to acknowledge I'm not an expert on the situation. I'm also a white male who wants to learn more about what goes on behind the scenes here. But firstly, Brian Flores has likely ended his career in coaching here. You'll hear many outlets calling this a great sacrifice, because it is. After filing a class action lawsuit, it's hard to imagine him receiving a head coaching role again, especially in the near future. And yesterday he interviewed with the Saints. He's a finalist in Houston. This was a great sacrifice from Flores. He is losing something here. But if you take a look at the facts, 0 owners in the league are black. There's currently 1 head coach as of today. That's Mike Tomlin with the Steelers. 7 black GMs, 4 offensive coordinators are black, 11 defensive coordinators, yet 70% of the players, as it's stated in the lawsuit, are black in this league. Of the 9 head coaching vacancies this offseason, 4 have been filled. All are white. The evidence really is right in front of our eyes. The fact that every season we have this same discussion every year, there are qualified black head coaches, and very few of them, if any, ever receive an opportunity, shows that there is a problem in the NFL. It's a problem that needs to be addressed by people who are a lot smarter than myself. It should be a diverse group of people who truly desire change. And that's not to say that the Josh McDaniels of the world, who just got a job in Vegas, that he doesn't deserve a head coach position, because he's a respected coach who's been in the league a long time. Jim Harbaugh, likely to sign with the Vikings, respected coach. It's not even to say that Brian Dable doesn't deserve the job. But from the pure facts, it's as clear as day if you look around the NFL that there's a diversity issue, and there always has been, and the efforts to fix it clearly have not been enough. All right, guys, that was a lot. Whenever you'd like to jump in.
I do think, Paul, you mentioned this is a league-wide spread issue, and it certainly is. You mentioned a few of the big teams that are being named, the Dolphins, the Giants, the Broncos, but 29 of 32 NFL teams are being sued here. Not all of them have been named. Actually, none of them have been named, but it's pretty easy to deduce who Brian Flores wants to sue. There are over 40 coaches, former coaches or former players who are involved in this lawsuit. And they bring up a lot of good examples. You think of Jim Caldwell with the Colts. Jim Caldwell went 14-2 and made the Super Bowl in his first year. Then he went 10-6 and won the AFC South his second year. Third year, Peyton Manning gets hurt immediately. Team goes 2-14. He's fired for having a bad record. Certainly don't think that would happen to a lot of coaches. You look at David Culley, right? Wins the same number of games this year without Deshaun Watson as the Texans were able to with last year. He's fired for philosophical differences. Even their GM remarks, boy, it's really strange we're firing him after just 1 year, isn't it? You look at people like Chris Richard, right, who he coordinated the historic Legion of Boom defense. never got a job offer. You look at Terrell Austin, right, who kept getting brought in for interviews over and over again. Never hired. Eric Bieniemy, unable to get a head coaching position despite coordinating for the best offense and the best quarterback in the league. It's difficult not to see a pattern here. There's going to be a lot of discovery. A lot of things are going to come out. Some of them are going to help one side. Some of them are going to help another. But certainly there's an interesting case to be had here. And given how broad it is, I do think the NFL needs to be concerned about what's going to come out of this. And I think that the relief that the plaintiffs are asking for here is pretty reasonable. They don't want huge amounts of money. They actually haven't asked for any money in the settlement. They've asked for funding to minority coach jobs. They've asked to see over time an increase rather than a decrease of black head coaches and general managers. It's pretty reasonable in my view, and I'm interested to see what comes out of this, and hopefully it leads to some good change.
Yeah, Ziggy, you present a lot of great examples there, and I think something that I was saying before, the solution to this is going to come from people who know a lot more about what's going on than myself or Ziggy or Jack here. But something that we can all agree upon is that there's clearly an issue. Whether people will admit that or not, just look at the basic facts of the matter. And overall, yeah, hopefully we're able to come to a happy conclusion to all this. But it might take a while. It might get a little messy.